welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein. Thank you for joining me today on March 20th. And looking forward to seeing the follow-up from yesterday's. That question he posed yesterday really was something that I enjoyed contemplating, and I really find a lot of value in asking ourselves that question, question of who do we serve, self or truth? So I'm looking forward to the 20th today, see what he follows it up with. This will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. I am still sick. Turns out I have COVID, so that's fun. This is 2023, if anyone's listening to this later on. So that's still a impactful thing. And so I am still with the stuffy nose and not feeling that great, but we're going to go ahead and we'll get this done today, and it's usually a bright spot in my day to be able to do this, so thank y'all for joining me. So here we go. March 20th. It is by eradication of the inward errors and impurities alone that a knowledge of truth can be gained. There is no other way to wisdom and peace. The peace which passeth understanding is a peace which no event or circumstance can shake or mar. Because it is not merely a passing calm between two storms, but is an abiding peace that is born of knowledge. Men have not this peace because they do not understand, because they do not know, and they do not understand and know, because they are blinded and rendered ignorant by their own errors and impurities. And whilst they are unwilling to give these up, they cannot but remain entirely ignorant of impersonal principles. Whilst a man loves his lusts, he cannot love wisdom. So good. Such a good one. And I really like the general I like the inference or the, the understanding maybe that man's natural state is to have knowledge of truth, is to have knowledge of wisdom and peace, right? But due to our own selfishness, our own human and animal distinctions and passions and desires. That's what I was looking for, not distinctions, desires. We get in the way of those natural states of humanity almost. So it's our job to actually purify ourselves and walk through in a way that will allow us this purification. So let's go over it again. It is by the eradication of inward errors and impurities alone that the knowledge of truth can be gained. So it's our own, again, it's us standing in the way. It's our own ignorance, it's our own errors, it's our own passions and selfishness and self-centeredness and all these things that stands in the way of us gaining the knowledge of truth. It's errors and impurities. There is no other way to wisdom and peace. So, saying right there, the only way to actually obtain wisdom and peace through truth is to purify our inward errors and impurities. Eradicate our inward errors and impurities. The peace which passeth understanding is a peace which no event or circumstance can shake or mar, because it is not merely a passing calm between two storms, but an abiding peace that is born of knowledge. I believe I've experienced both of these pieces there's a sense of peace someone can get by almost always temporarily arranging the external world to suit themselves, and everything's functioning in a way that makes them comfortable. Everybody's acting in a way that they think is proper. You know, like, it's a false sense of peace almost, because it's a conditional peace. It's a peace born from synchronous chaos almost. Because the external world is completely unpredictable. The only thing we actually have control over and insight into is our own internal conditions, right? So outside of us, we can influence things outside of us, but with true control, we don't usually have. As much as we like to lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that we do, we don't. So, but when the chaotic external world synchronizes temporarily, we can get what we call peace. The problem is with that, it's easily disturbed, it's easily taken away, and someone can chase that sense of peace and comfort to the end of their life and never experience it again. It's not all that common that the external world accounts for your own personal fears and insecurities to a point where you feel safe and secure and peaceful. Oh, he said, well, that's kind of what he was saying here. That it's not merely a passing calm between two storms, right? That's that temporary peace. But there's a peace that goes beyond that, a peace that's independent and functions completely separate from what's going on in the world. It's an internal peace that we can bring with us everywhere, regardless of what the chaotic external world is showing us. And that's an amazing thing for a guy like me to realize and understand, that I can bring peace with me. That's pretty amazing. But it took a lot of removing the dependency on those things and demanding from my external world certain security, certain confidence, certain validations. And that makes those desires for external things cause suffering, and they disturb my peace. But it's not because of what they're doing; it's because of how I value or interpret what they're doing, how I interpret what's happening externally to me is affecting me. It's an abiding peace that is born of knowledge. That's that transcending peace, transcending from circumstance to circumstance, independent of what's actually occurring external. Men have not this peace because they do not understand, because they do not know. And they do not understand and know because they are blinded and rendered ignorant by their own errors and impurities. So their own faulty thinking gets in the way all the time. Their ignorance to their own errors and impurities, like their own sins, they could say here, which is a lot of our passions and selfishness and self-centeredness, the things we always talk about on this podcast. They are blinded and rendered ignorant by their own errors and impurities. So their own self is getting in the way of that wisdom, of that truth. And it is most times because they don't understand or even aware of the faults in their thinking. It's a pretty powerful statement there. But it's also giving hope that any man can achieve this everlasting peace if we were to only do the work and take the actions. And whilst they are unwilling to give these up, they cannot but remain entirely ignorant of impersonal principles. So if they have not taken the spiritual lifestyle, the spiritual values, the spiritual principles and disciplines into themselves and into their own personal practices, then they will never know this peace. Whilst they are unwilling to give these up, until we're willing to turn all these things over and let these things go and let these behaviors go, right? When we can do that, that's when we can get out of our own way enough and have some faith and trust in the process, and peace and true truth can show itself to us. And we can accept that into our lives. And our natural state can be imposed, can come to, full manifestation, maybe. It's a better way to say that. There's a great ending line on this one, though. Whilst a man loves his lusts, he cannot love wisdom. Again, it's kind of that's the same point yesterday's was making. Who do you serve? The throne of self or the throne of truth? Whilst the man loves his lust, that's worshiping at the throne of self. That's using your will to satisfy your own selfish desires and ends. You are in service to yourself and only to yourself. And you cannot be in service to self and truth at the same time. You cannot love wisdom and your own lusts. You must love one or the other. That's the choice we get today. And it's a hard choice to make. As much as now I would say I would always make this choice to walk the spiritual lifestyle. It wasn't always that way. It was a daunting choice. It was one I ran from for a long time. One that I didn't even realize was possible for a guy like me, honestly. I just didn't think that was the type of life that I was going to ever be capable of living, which is just sad in and of itself, but it's true. It's true. I had lost hope in my ability to live a good and righteous life. So, but that's a great reading again today, giving us a pretty clear picture of if we are still having disturbances in our life, if we are still having problems in our life, where are they coming from? They're coming from us. It's our problem. We need to have a little bit more faith. So I enjoyed reading this today. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's. And that will just follow these two fantastic ones up and hopefully continue on this line of who do you serve. And then we will go from there. So until next time, thanks.